We do want to bring in now Deputy Communications Director for the Trump 2024 campaign, Caroline Sunshine. Caroline, good to have you with us. What can we expect at this convention?
Yes, we are looking forward to this convention. President Trump is the leader of our party. He has unified our party, inspired our ranks. And as you saw in the new party platform that President Trump was directly involved in crafting, that our party just put out, this is a platform that is dedicated to the forgotten men and women of America. And that's exactly who this convention is going to be about. If you look at that new party platform, you see those 20 top priorities listed out. Of course, the first being stopping the invasion at our borders, securing our border, deporting the illegal immigrants who've been allowed into our country under Joe Biden. We know that's a top policy priority for the American people. President Trump has always said that he's here to make America great again. So our convention is focused on those forgotten men and women. It's focused on what is important to them. You're going to hear from some voices highlighting directly the suffering that the American people have had to endure under Joe Biden. And our focus is on how President Trump and his winning message is going to help make America wealthy, safe, strong, and great again.
And everyone wants to know who Trump will be picking as his running mate. Any indications today, or at the very least, do we know exactly when he'll be making that announcement?
Well, I guess Joe Biden announced President Trump as his vice president last night at his big boy press conference. Look, I would tell you that the only person who knows who President Trump will select as his vice president and when he will announce it is, of course, President Trump himself. But he understands how high the stakes are for our country, and he is going to select someone who's going to be a great partner to him in helping him make this country great again.
Yeah. How much of a focus is what's going on within a split Democratic Party? What is going on with President Biden? How much of a focus? How much will we hear about that this weekend and in the coming days?
Well, President Trump is focused on the American people. He's focused on their suffering. Look, it's been 2 weeks since that debate. I call it the debate to end all debates because President Trump didn't just win that debate. I think he dominated it. I think this has now been 2 weeks of day after day of cleanup on aisle 5, 6, and 7 for the Democrat Party. This is a candidate and a party that is in free fall, and all of the time that they are having to waste, which is the American people's time, because Joe Biden is a public servant who is on the taxpayer's dime. All of this time that they are wasting having to provide excuses is a waste of time for the American people. The American people are not hearing from the Democrat Party on how they're going to address the problems that they're afflicted with in their everyday lives, right? When they commute into work and they see that gas is $4 or $5 a gallon, when they look at war that we've seen on the world stage and they watched Joe Biden last night at a NATO press conference not be able to correctly identify President Putin versus President Zelensky, who is, of course, standing right next to him. So President Trump just continues to be focused with that same poise, command, strength that you saw on that debate stage on the problems that are most relevant to the American people and how he can provide solutions to their suffering.
And Caroline, can I ask, do you expect that former President Trump will, in this occasion, focus on these issues that viewers really care about? Because he does have a tendency to go along a path of airing past grievances rather than focusing on what voters really care about.
Well, I think it's the liberal mainstream media that is often stuck in the past. They often like to think that the calendar reads January 6, 2020, and President Trump is very focused on the issues of the present day that are most important to the American people. For example, you can see the party platform that he just put out and was intricately involved in drafting. As I mentioned, that #1 priority is to secure the border. And we know that 62% of Americans, including a majority of Hispanics, I might add, but that's not 62% of Republicans, that's 62% of Americans that want mass deportations for illegal immigrants. And President Trump has said on his first day in office, that's exactly what he's going to do. So he is focused on the issues that are most important to the American people, and that's why you're seeing him continue to win in poll after poll, and why he has a winning message that's resonating with, yes, voters inside of the Republican Party, but also voters well outside of our voting base.
How is Trump preparing for the possibility of Biden not running against him?
Well, look, the Democrat Party is welcome to put up whoever they like. Maybe they'll stick with Joe Biden. Maybe they'll pick somebody who's more active outside of the hours of 10 and 4 p.m. But as we have seen in recent polling, nobody that they can put up can beat President Trump. So President Trump just continues to stay focused on the issues that we know are most important to the American people. We know that those issues this election are inflation and immigration, and Joe Biden's record is the record of the Democrat Party.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.